especially for those who are unable to join. Once we record, we upload into our YouTube channel, and then it becomes a reference material for personal development. I do hope I have everyone's attention. Thank you. All right, welcome once again to another delightful HR storybook session, where what we do here is just to talk about real life issues. We hear stories of people, and then we glean from their own wisdom. We learn from their experiences, what has worked for them, and the things that hadn't even worked. And the learnings we hear, we take it and apply to our own life. It's not a one size fits all, but we believe that there are wisdoms and there are experiences that we can learn from other people to help us in our own journey of growth. So what we do is just talk about real life issues. We share story here, and then we learn on the go while gisting and hearing the stories of other people. You're welcome once again. And today's topic is a very special topic, dear to my heart, because I'm a mom, though I have a pocket hat on, as you can see, but this pocket hat represents the multiple hats I have to wear as a woman, as a mom, as a daughter, as a colleague, as a neighbor, as a professional, as a coach. There's just so many hats that I'm wearing. But at the same time, I still have my commitment. I have my 9 to 5. So the question is, how do we integrate our career with other aspects of our life? And this is one topic that I believe impacts and affects every one of us today. I'm looking forward to having our guest speaker share her story with us. But before she comes up, please just give me a few minutes. Let me read out her powerful profile. Our guest speaker today is Chinwe Onuchukwu, popularly known as CEO, Madam CEO. She is an established senior HR professional and a transformational leader with progressive hands-on knowledge of global and local best practices in HR, an advocate for personal and leadership development with over 16 years experience across technology, oil and gas sectors. She's currently the head HR manager. So she's currently the HR manager for an indigenous oil and gas company in Nigeria. She is the founder of Candid Professional Hub, a platform created to mentor, coach, and provide young professionals with the skills and strategies to build purposeful and sustainable careers. She's also the author of What's Next?, a great book. She's a career advancement strategist, especially focusing on young professionals. Chinwe, CEO, aka CEO, holds a BSc in biochemistry. We have that in common as well. And MSc in public administration. She is a certified senior professional in human resources, SPHRI, a certified coach by International Coaching Federation. That's another thing we have in common. And an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, another thing we have in common. So from her profile, you can see that even though Chinwe is now physically wearing a pocket hat like I am, she equally has a lot of hats that she's wearing from her profile. She's a mother, she's a wife. That wife part is not in this profile, but I know that's one. She's a leader. She's an HR professional, she's an author, she's a coach. I mean, there's so many hats that Chinwe is wearing that we can all see from her, or we can all hear from the profile that I just read out. So Chinwe, glad to have you. I mean, you're the best person to have in the house today to share with us how you integrate career and other aspects of your life. And this is one big area that a lot of people come to me, especially women and moms, you know, and we have different phases of our life. There was a point in my career that I had my cousin was staying with me. At some point, he had to move out. At some point, he had to travel. And every time I'm calling him, it's like he's starting a new job. He's starting a new phase entirely. I mean, life happens to us in phases, and that's the reality. But a lot of people struggle and juggle to transition from one phase to another, let alone to integrate. So, Chinwe, it's such an honor to have you in the house today. You look beautiful as always, girl. When I see you.
Thank you so much, Lara. Thank you
Thank you. Thank you.
Good
So
evening.
good evening. We'd like you to start by sharing with us, how did it all start for your upbringing and how you were able to transition from one phase of your life, from being that little girl to that university girl, to that babe, that sissy, to that yawo, to that mama. How has it all been for you? Thanks, and you're welcome.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lara. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that has showed up today. It's an honor for me to be here today. Thank you so much, Lara, to share my story. I see my sisters are here as well. And thank you so much. They are all from across the continent. Thank you to everyone that has showed up today. Thank you. Like Lara said, we're all here to learn together. And there's something beautiful about sharing your life story, because when you share your story, we all learn from each other. I've learned from Lara, I've learned from your stories, I've learned from other people's stories, and it actually makes your life easier. Okay, when you see somebody that have gone through what you're about to go through and how they have navigated, it totally helps you. It gives you perspective and it gives you direction as well. So thank you, everyone. I know Sunday is usually, for me, Sunday is usually that day that I sleep a lot, and I'm sure it's the same thing for a lot of people. So thank you for showing up today. We'll just spend like an hour and we'll be out of your faces. Okay, so for me, growing up, I have transitioned a lot, Lara, and it's so funny when you have to think back at your life to see where you came from, because there's this saying that we don't look like what we've been through, we don't look like where we're coming from, all right? So for me, I was raised in the backside of town. You hear the backside of town, that's the serious backside of town. Okay, I was raised in Ajegunle, for those of you that don't know. Yes, I was. And for me, growing up, we had to grow up quickly because of the circumstances that we found ourselves in. So we pretty much had to grow up quickly. We took on a lot of responsibilities as we were growing up. In primary school, my sisters and I were already going to the market. My mother had like 3 or 4 businesses that she was running at that time, and we're all involved in running this business with her. So from primary school, we started going to Balogun Market, sometimes on nature, to go. Then as early as 4 a.m., we're up in the morning, okay? She also had this food store that we had to prepare everything that was going to be sold at the store before going to school. And we always made it to school on time. So that growing up like that shaped who we are today, who all of us, that's why my sisters are here today too, because growing up today has, it has shaped who we are today. Okay, so then getting into university again was another chore. All right, you know how you were growing up and you say, I'd like to be this, I'd like to be that. I had always wanted to be an engineer because, and I wrote that in my book. I think that was chapter 1 of my book, what I ordered versus what they gave me. I had wanted to be an engineer so badly, and ask me why I wanted to be an engineer. Because I had an uncle, that each time he come, he was a naval engineer. Each time he came with his white and white, he always looked so admirable. And I'm always thinking in my head, this is my ticket out of this place. If I can just become an engineer, I've made it for life, for real. But okay, trying to get into university, JAMB, when they say JAMB, jammed you. I wrote JAMB. When they say jammed you, I wrote JAMB for like 3-4 years, and then that wasn't forthcoming. So at this time, I needed to, okay, let's just do something else really, since they are not going to give me engineering. Okay, so I now went to LASU. There is this thing called pre-degree program to get into LASU. So I did that, and I still put engineering again. But eventually they gave me biochemistry. And I'm like, what is biochemistry, for heaven's sake? Then I took on the course and then started studying it. So between studying biochemistry from year 1 to year 3, I didn't know what I was doing with my life, really. I didn't know where this biochemistry was going to lead me to. And that's one of the gifts that we didn't have back then. We didn't have career counselors, we didn't have guidance, we didn't have mentors, we didn't have coaches like we do for the young professionals of today. Nobody really to guide us, basically. So then I think in my third year, we had to do internship. So I got this internship opportunity at a pharmaceutical company, Emzo Pharmaceutical. And the first few weeks I was enjoying it. I was wearing a lab coat. I was in the chemistry lab. We were mixing chemicals, you know, part of the great process of manufacturing drugs for my country, you know, all that was, I was feeling so important, you get? At some point down the line, I now sat down and I realized, this will not be my life. And I said, okay, if I say this will not be my life, what then would be my life? I didn't know what would be my life, but I was thankful to be exposed to family. I think at this point I was living with my brother and his wife, and my sister-in-law was working in a bank at that time. But I said to myself, I don't want to work in a bank because I've seen how that experience was. Okay. And I said to myself, I don't want to work in a bank. I was sure I didn't want to work in a bank. I was sure I wasn't going to continue in biochemistry because obviously I didn't want to be wearing a lab coat all of my life. So, but then what was I going to do? I didn't know until I graduated from school, did my service, youth service. I served in Zamfara State, Guso Zamfara. That was when Zamfara was still an okay place, so to speak. So after my service year, I was one of those people that was favored to get a job immediately. And how did I get a job? It was basically based on relationship. That's why today I speak on relationship, like relationship is a card that you do not want to toy with. Okay, I had a friend then, and she had called me and said, Chinwe, she was working at Microsoft. I said, one of my bosses is setting up a business, and I think you should interview for this role. And I'm like, okay, thank you very much. So I did that, worked there for 2 years. Then I moved into an IT company and then worked there based on relationship again. Worked there for all the jobs I have gotten in my life, Lara, was based on relationship. I did not go to break my head to fill an ATS system or anything. It was purely based on relationship. Okay, so I moved from there into another company as an admin person. I did that admin for 1 year. And after 1 year, it was a startup company. The lady I was reporting to now called me to say, set up the HR department. In my head, I'm like, what is HR? How? From where? How? She now said, okay, I can introduce you to somebody that can handhold you, you know, through the process. And I started this process, and it was something different. And I enjoyed it, you know. It gave me this comfort that, okay, wearing that lab coat did not give me, and working in that chemistry lab didn't give me. And I have stuck with HR for 14 years now. So that is where we're at today, HR for 14 years.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, CEO, for being very open, very, very real and authentic with your story. We also have some of your sisters in the house who are equally alluding to your story. Man, having grown from such a humble background of Ajegunle to where you are today, I mean, at some point you've had to juggle other areas of your life. You know, you spoke a lot around relationship, that it's a card that you shouldn't toy with. And I totally can relate with that. I mean, when people pray for blessing and they pray for their angels, you know, to come, God will definitely use people. But when God brings people your way, how do you treat them? How do you nurture that relationship that you eventually develop with them? Wow, that is really, really powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I would like you to talk about, you know, other areas of your career at the point when you got married and at the point when you started having children. Were there any specific challenges that you faced? I remember at my own career, the early part of my career, I had started my CIPM exams. And then I got married in between. I was actually trying to speed up, my exams to pass all my diets and all of that. But unfortunately, I think I had 1 or 2 resets. I remember that my last paper, I don't remember the subject now, for my PE2, I had just given birth and I was meant to write my final exams in about 5 or 6 days time. I remember walking to the hall that day, with my body swollen and still trying to get myself together. And one of the invigilators, a woman, came to me and said, "What's wrong with you? You look like you just had a baby." I said, I couldn't even sit because I had undergone some minor surgery. So like, wow, you're here to write the exam. Well, yes, but I want to pass this exam. I want to qualify for my CIPM at the end of the day. So eventually I passed that exam, but it was a tough call trying to juggle motherhood and then professional development. Had there been a time where it was also a difficult one for you when you were transitioning or having to integrate that area of your life? And what did you do?
Thank you so much, Lara. For me, okay. Sorry, excuse me.
Sorry.
So okay, I got married. I've been married for almost 11 years now. I always say the best gift God gave me after salvation is my husband, because okay, I was one of those people that married late, okay, and it wasn't intentional, like everybody in my house, all the rats and cockroaches were married at that time. So I was basically the only one left. And I see things in my life recently that, okay, I would say to myself, thank God I didn't marry early. Maybe I would back to my parents' house, things like that. But God gave me the most patient, the most humble of them all. He reserved him for me, basically. Okay, so after marriage, and I had a lot of examples, you get. I had older siblings that had been married. I had my brothers too. At some point, I was living with my brother also. So there was a lot of learning from me. I was learning a lot from these people on how they are able to balance things, you get. And I was taking, okay, this I will do when I get married. This I will do when I get married. And that's the thing I want to draw out. Okay, when you find yourself in situations of things that you are looking forward to attaining in the future, there are learning points that you pass through all of your life stages. And it's important to be intentional and pay attention most of the time to say, okay, this is working for these people. I can borrow this part of them and tweak it to become, okay, a part for me as well. Okay, so I remember my pregnancy journey after marriage, trying to, live with a spouse for the first time and also trying to work. Then you are pregnant as well and also trying to juggle everything at the same time. Then I don't think mental health was a big thing back then. But you think back to today, a lot of us were actually dealing with a lot of things mentally, emotionally, physically for pregnancy, and even spiritually as well. So for me, the lessons for me then was, again, family relationships. Okay, I had a lot of people that I could call and say, well, I need help with this. Can you help me? I need help with this area. Can you help me? Then for my job, again, I tend to travel like every quarter. I'm out of town for work. And in my early years, at some point, my husband was working in Port Harcourt as well. And some of these times I would also have to travel. So what will happen to my children at this point? So it all boils down to relationship again and building structures that work for you. Okay, like for me, each time I find myself that I will have to be out of town and my husband is out of town again, my sister-in-law lives just like 10 minutes or 15 minutes away from me, and my children are also her children. So just take them there, drop them there. So there's a support system that I have built around me to the extent that everything is working. You get, but it did not start one day. Okay, that support system and that structure did not start at a point. It was enabled by the relationship that you have built over time with these people for you to have these people as your support system. Then there are also times where, okay, I'm at work, they may call you, or I'm out of town and they say, okay, your child needs to be picked up from school for whatever reason. And I have somebody that I can call, a dear friend to me that I can call to say, okay, please, I need your help in this area. Can you help me pick up my child? You get? And that will not just happen because I have met this person. It is because I have been intentional in the kind of relationship that I have built over the years with this person. And okay, when it comes to my children, I can't expose my children to everybody. Okay, there are certain people, I can count them in one hand, that I can expose my children to. And it's because these people have been tested and tested and tested and tested over time. Okay, and it is all based on relationship again, you building that support system, because at some point you need support at every point of your career, especially as you keep on advancing and growing. You need that support system to sustain that career growth.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much, CEO, for that response. Like you rightly mentioned, delay is not denial. Thank you. I think I find that really powerful. And Esther also equally alludes to that fact. She's written, delays are not the end of the story, just the beginning of great story. I love that, Esther. Powerful. Thank you. Saving the best for the last, marriage, work life, and all other intricacies, really powerful. Like you rightly mentioned, it also boils down to relationship. So relationship, it remains the core of all that we do. Even if, yes, remains the core. Your career, your life, your family, your support system. I mean, you can be trying to build a support system for yourself and you're not maintaining and nurturing that relationship. I remember very recently, I was chatting with an old girlfriend of mine. We're talking about how there was a particular lady that she had met and she was sharing with us how she feels frustrated and she doesn't have any constant maid, or support system around her. And she's someone who nags a lot and she has a whole lot of attitudinal issues to the extent that people don't like to associate with her. And because of that relationship issue that she hasn't fixed, it's been really difficult for her getting people around her to support her. So we can talk about support system, but at the same time, we need to be intentional, like you rightly said, with the relationship around us. We need to test and trust our relationship, right? I find that really, really powerful. Then you equally mentioned as you were wrapping up on the need for us to sustain, our lives, given the various phases that we have to go through. And that takes me to my next question around balancing. So what's your perspective around work-life balance and work-life integration? There's been a whole lot of conversations around that. Can we ever balance this life at all? Is it possible? What's your perspective on that?
I'll start with a local balance that say this life no balance.
No balance at all.
Because really, okay, your personal life, okay, means so much to you, yeah? And also your work life means also so much to you. Then again, how do you arrive at a balance with this two? Because, okay, if anything happens to you at home, you have family crisis or family issues, it impacts your work, right? And when you're having work crisis at work and that promotion is not coming, your line manager is being difficult, it affects your home because you take that and you take it home. So how do we now find a way to want to balance these two things? I don't think there can ever be a balance, but if you work at integrating means because we're all living a life of integration, basically, especially because of the life that we all live now. Technology and everything is driving everything. I would say probably our grandparents or great-grandparents were the ones that did life balance, because then they were able to trek from home to the farm. When they finish the farm work, they can come home for lunch, then go back to the farm, then come back home and rest for the day, right? But today we have technology. You have a smartphone, not just a phone. Everybody here has a smartphone. We have a laptop, we have an iPad. We're basically exposed to technology every minute of our lives. So basically it's integration that we're doing, because I can be at home, okay? Or I can be at the hospital, I've taken my child to the hospital and I'll get a work email. I would not say that, I'm at the hospital with my child, I cannot reply this email. Or I'm at work doing something meaningful and I remember, oh, okay, we need to book a family vacation or a weekend getaway, and I start working on it at work. Okay, so work is no longer at work. Work is everywhere you go as of today because of the life. And the pandemic drove this home to us, because before we were trying to describe or define what it is that we were, because it wasn't balanced. But the pandemic actually threw more light on it, because we're all stuck at home. The children were going to school at home online. We were working online at home. We all found a way to coexist at that time, and we all survived, right?
Yes, we did.
So it is integrating work into life that makes it seamless, because one cannot exist outside of the other one. They must coexist. However, we have to learn to draw boundaries at some point. That's one thing that we don't often talk about, especially in Nigerian context. We often forget to talk about boundaries. You know, the work is now where work is. We're working and we're juggling too many things at the same time. You are doing Story Life, HR Storybook, you are doing coaching, you are doing mentoring, you are a mother, you are a wife, you are a career professional. All of that comes into you as a human being that is Lara, okay? So, and how have you been able to manage all of this without losing your mental health? It is because you have found a way to integrate each one into each other. So nothing is missing out. Nothing is broken. Everything is working because we have married everything together, basically. So we should all just strive to integrate everything into each other, but however, have boundaries.
Have your boundaries. Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, when you were enlisting the various hats that I wear, and I remembered how, for me, it got to a point that it became a bit overwhelming for me, especially given the nature of my job. And I said to myself, I can't continue like this. I needed to find a way to distress. And I found that in dancing. So weekends, when I go dancing, I am very intentional, because it just helps me to breathe again, despite the fact that I have all these moving parts of me, going on a daily basis. So you need to, in setting your boundaries, is also finding out what works for you. How, give yourself a treat, find time to breathe once in a while. When you get to that peak and you really need to step back, right, and reflect and go back and get your inner strength again. It's really important as you find those boundaries. Sometimes it could be just hanging out, it could be just going for a movie, going to the spa to take care of yourself, and all of those. So having said that, there comes a time in our life where you have your plans. Okay, I want to get married. I want to be promoted at work. I want to own this. I want to own a car. I want to have this. I want to have a baby. Baby is not coming, or eventually baby came. You end up being a single mom. I mean, life happens. Life happens outside of our, outside of our plans for ourselves. Has there been a time where you've had life happens for you, or is there any area is there any perspective that you want to share to encourage someone, perhaps maybe who's not financially there yet, who's not getting that promotion yet? I remember in my own career, at some point, I lost out on a promotion opportunity twice, and I was really frustrated. So what would you say to someone out there to just encourage them, perhaps if life isn't going on the way they actually would love it so?
Thank you so much, Lara. For me, okay, life for me, there are different seasons of life, okay? And we come into different seasons at different points in our lives. Yes, you may be desiring a lot of things. Like I'm one of those people that I have my vision book that I'm always writing. And in my vision book, I actually wrote that I was going to get married at 25. Okay, buy my first house, you know, all of those beautiful things. Okay, yes, and I encourage everybody, if you don't have a vision book, it is important. Okay, write it down. As it comes to you, write it down. Regardless of the timeline that you have put on it, still write it down. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so I had that book. I had written out all these fancy, beautiful things, but life was not happening as I had envisioned or as I had put on paper, so to say. You're working at a job. My first job was paying me 40,000 naira. Then, and you're thinking, okay, so what is this 40,000 naira going to do for me, basically, right? Then eventually, okay, you're working like that, salary increased, you got married, then you're now trying, I don't want to use the word struggle, you're not trying to make ends meet as a family, as a couple, okay? And then, even though you know the vision that you have in your head, okay, that it's also tangible on your paper, but you're not seeing it yet. But there's something that I always go back to, okay? My life source, okay, who is God, right? Because his timing is not our timing, okay? He has shown you all of those visions. You have seen all of those visions. And he showed them to you for a reason. But the timeline that you have put on it is not the timeline that he has put on it, right? I remember there was a point in our lives where, as a married couple now, what we insisted on was that our children must always go to good schools, regardless of it. At this point where we had one car, and then what will happen is that the two of us will drive out from the house with our son. We had a son, just a child then. We'll drive out of the house with our son. Okay, we'll drop our son off. Then I'll drop him off at work. Then I'll take the car home to work because I'll have to pick up the child after work. Okay, so that was our life for quite a long time. And then there was a time that the AC wasn't working. And you know, when you are driving up to Chrisland School, everybody is coming with their four-wheel SUVs, and you are driving in one small thing coming there. So, and our AC wasn't working. What we used to do then was we just wind up the car as we're approaching the gate. We just wind up. We just wind up to drive in and drop off our son. Then when we are going out, we now wind down again. And fresh air. Have a breath of fresh air. And that happened even though you had this drive, you had this vision, but everything was not showing up like like you felt it should, right? And that's where another thing that you also need to pay attention to what God is saying per time, per season. Because oftentimes I'll be thinking, what kind of life did I enter like this? Is this normal, you know? But then we still had that vision. Oh, we're going to buy our house. We're saying, oh, we're going to buy our first house will be in Lekki, this, that, this. We still had all of that. Affirmations are also good. Everybody, if you are not affirming your life vision, today is a good day to start affirming it. So that journey continued until eventually, okay, one car turned to two cars. Then we finally bought that our first house, and it was in Lekki as well. So life happens to you in stages, okay? You go through a lot of things, but it takes for you to be patient, understand where God is leading you through and from, because if not, you're going to miss it, okay? Even though you had all of those things put down together on paper, but it wasn't God's time. Until it was God's time, that was when it happened. Even you have to go through the fire for you to be refined as gold eventually. So the fire was plenty.
Wow.
Go through it joyfully. Joyfully, I say. Yes.
And enjoy the process. Awesome.
Enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process. Yeah. Thank you so much. You rightly captured, life happens to us in different stages, but we need to pay attention to what God is saying per time, per season. Absolutely. You also mentioned that God's timing is the best timing. Absolutely. So yes, we do have our goals and vision all written out. And despite that, there is a need for us to also stay close to our source and trust God. I remember 2019, I mean, I'd written my goal for that year. I was going to get promoted, and that year I was laid off. I was laid off through a redundancy exercise. And at some point, I'm like, God, this was not what I had written for that year. But God showed up. And till date, it's been one of the best years of my career, even though I was out of a job for about 8-9 months and all of those. I mean, my dreams came to bear in a different way. I mean, the book that I authored was during that period, and so many other great and amazing things that I did. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, CEO. We have a question for you here from Esther. Esther states, integrating life into work makes it balanced and seamless. Thank you for that comment. But her question is, how have you been able to manage the emotions of your children, seeing you and your husband have traveled most of the times outside town for work, leaving them in the hands of tested few persons? Aren't they saying or feeling it?
Okay, so that was in our early days of marriage. Recall I said my husband was working in Port Harcourt for that earlier part until 2015. And I'll share a story as well. Okay, my husband was also working in Port Harcourt, and I was pregnant for, I had my second pregnancy again, and then that pregnancy I eventually lost. However,
sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you. And it was a funny thing, and I'll share that story after I respond to Esther's question. So my son and my nephew, they are like this, okay? As in, you think they are twins, okay? They always want to be in each other's space, right? And even while we're at home, my son is always wanting to go. I want to go to, my cousin's place. I'm like, but I'm at home now. Why do you want to go to your cousin's place? It is because of the acceptance and the love that he has felt in that environment. That is why he would want to repeatedly go there, okay? Because he is safe, he's at home,
yeah,
right? Because every time, and each time I don't take him there, it's like heaven is falling down. He's screaming. I'm like, but I'm your mother now, I'm at home. Can you not enjoy my presence for this period? No, but he wants to go there. And each time I go to pick him up is one waterworks tantrum after the other. He doesn't want to leave. Yeah. And the cousin does not want him to leave. So it's as if now I'm disrupting their lives for coming to pick him up. So, and that's one thing that God has also blessed me with, because support system is something that I've had, okay, that God has given me freely, and I've enjoyed it over years. And it's been such a beautiful journey, because I've not had cause to say, oh, come and carry your child, or let me go and pick up my child, that kind of thing, because he's in a safe place. He's in a safe environment. So yeah, That's it. If we can all find that one support system, we don't have to do 3, just that one support system where your children totally feel safe. Because at some point in your time, in your career, something might happen to take both of you out of town. So what happens?
Yeah. Great one. Thank you. There's a story you said you said you were going to share after the response. Do you remember the story?
Oh, okay. So then, the story of how I had lost my pregnancy. And for everybody that is here or would listen to this at some point in your life, I remember then we had our first child. That was our second child. I remember I was sitting at work, and you know, when you're in your final trimester, you feel the kick frequently all the time. So this particular day, I had just finished a meeting, and it occurred to me, since morning I've not felt any kick. What's happening? And I just thought to take myself to the hospital, and I went to the hospital. And on my way to the hospital, I had called my husband. So as I got to the hospital, 5 minutes after I got there, he came in and we went in to see the doctor. And after she checked me, she was like, they had to do a surgery immediately, a CS immediately. I'm like, what is happening? You get? And before I knew it, I was sedated, and I totally blanked out until the surgery was done. So by the time I woke up, or my subconscious, basically, I was feeling a lot of pain, but I could hear sound, but my eyes, I knew I was not awake, but I could hear. I knew I was in a room and a woman had just had a baby. And then she was so concerned that, and why are they bringing her here? I paid for a private ward. Why do I have to share a room with somebody? And the husband was pacifying her, just relax. They said she has just lost her baby. They are trying to sort out a room for her. Just be patient. I could hear all of that, you get? But I wasn't sure what was happening. And the lady kept on going, no, I paid for a private room, this and that. And the husband was trying to really calm her down. And that was a lesson for me, you get? That, okay, you have had your own child, you have your baby, but the concern for you was that your privacy was being invaded by somebody that had just lost the baby, okay? And that brings me into the life that we all live in today, because it was such a big lesson for me that we all go about our different daily activities, not minding the people that we encounter on our life's journey, what they are dealing with per time, the issues they're having per time, but we're focused on our selfish interests at every point and refusing to look outside of ourselves to see, hey, this person, are you really okay? Yes, you have said good morning to me and I've said, how are you? And you said you're fine, but are you really fine? You get? So this is a call for all of us to just once in a while step outside of our selfishness. If there's a word like that, step outside of our selfishness just to care about the person next door. Because oftentimes the person is masked with a lot of smiles. Okay, people may be dealing and going through a lot, but we all show up and we're smiling and we're happy, but you don't know what the next person is dealing with.
Yeah.
So let's also be careful with the way we speak to people and say things to people, because we really never know.
Yeah. Wow. That's a very powerful story. CEO. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that's the honest reality, the need for us to just consciously show care for other people. Yes, we have our vision, our plans, our goals, everything we want to attain, but at the same time, we need to show care and love for other people. Unfortunately, when we hear people take their lives, that is when a lot of time people begin to put two and two together. Oh, this person, and I said I wanted to check on this person some days ago, and I said I wanted to check on this person. So let's just be intentional about it. Thank you so much for sharing that story. So I have a question here from Timmy. Okay, I think actually two do. The first question reads, yeah. Is there something you wished you had done better in your career and your family life?
For my career, one thing I wish is, okay, because you know, when I started my intro, I had mentioned that we didn't have mentors and coaches back in the day, like guide us and help us, you know, really navigate. So one lesson that I have learned over the year in my career is just to be mindful. I remember in my early years, somebody had given me a book on politics, workplace politics. Somebody had given me a book, and in my mind, I was like, what is politics? I'm not going to join you people to play any dramatic politics. So why do I need to read this book? It was after I had had a few experiences, a few very terrible and bad experiences, that I went back to this book. Let's even see what this thing is talking about. So, and it is me not understanding I won't say regret, the learning that I have in terms of career is me not understanding early enough what office politics means, how to manage, understand, manage, and navigate, because you are not called to get into any kind of shenanigans. So it is me not understanding how to use relationships internally, okay, to navigate, just understand the power plays of an organization, okay, and totally navigate properly. I don't want to say use or leverage. I want to say navigate, okay? Don't get dirty, don't get involved, don't play any kind of games. Just, it was just, and that is one of the things I tell to everybody that I speak to now, every young professional. You must understand the dynamics of the environment that you work in. When you come into when you are employed at a job, and every environment is different, okay? When you come into your environment, what are the dynamics? There are the power players in your environment. There are dynamics in your environment. You owe yourself a duty to understand it clearly, and be aware of it. Then you use your information to navigate seamlessly, because that cost me a lot of things in my work life. So it's something that I want everybody to take seriously, understand it, because you can say there is no politics, I will not do, until uncle understand it.
Yes, so political awareness.
Exactly.
Yes.
You owe it to yourself. If you must rise, if you must grow, you owe it to yourself.
Absolutely. Very spot on there, CEO. Thank you so much. Wow, our time is almost fast spent already, but we have one question here. It reads, how do you manage some relationships that are non-reciprocal? You're always the one giving and at the receiving end.
Okay, for me, first of all, it depends on the kind of relationship. For me, when I want to pursue a relationship with somebody, I need to understand, define it first. What is in it for me? Because in every relationship, it has to be symbiotic.
Symbiotic.
Okay. Yeah. Why am I looking to build a relationship with this person? What value does this person have that I can key into? And even at that, what value do I have that this person can tap into as well? Because it's not all about you taking and taking and taking. It's also about you giving. So if you understand the reason why you want to build a relationship with that person, that is your why. First of all, why am I chasing a relationship with Lara? What does Lara have to offer me? And what do I have to offer Lara? Okay, so when you understand that there is mutual beneficiary or whatever, there's something mutually beneficial about the relationship that you're pursuing, then by all means go for it. Then if there is really nothing mutual about it, and you are the one giving and giving and giving, there's no point really. There's no point because it's obvious there's nothing there for you to tap into. So define why you want that relationship so badly and what kind of relationship it is as well.
Awesome response. Thank you so much, CEO, for that. I have one more question here. Yes, thank you, Esther. You owe yourself to understand your work environments and dynamics that plays out, then use to navigate work and relate seamlessly. Great advice, duly noted, powerful. Thank you, Esther. I concur. So one more question for you, CEO, and this speaks to the role of employers, right, in terms of helping employees achieve work-life integration. Do you think that role solely rests on individual employees, or you think as employers, there also has to be some consideration, that they have to equally put into play when taking certain decisions around the business? So what's your perspective on that?
It really depends, Lara, because oftentimes for most of us that work in Nigeria, there's something that we call the Nigerian factor when it comes to employers of labor. Even though oftentimes organizations say best practice, oftentimes these best practices are usually swept under the carpet and they do what they want to do, basically. So in reality, I think you as an employee, I want to believe that you are self-aware enough, okay, to the point where you think, okay, these are the things that I require, especially again, depending on your career level, because for each level it is different, okay? I want to believe that you are self-aware enough to say, these are the things that I require to integrate my career, my life and my work seamlessly, and you begin to work at it. So hopefully if you have an environment that supports that, fine. However, if you do not have an environment that supports that, work within the context of your environment, except you are ready to shape out of your environment. If you are not ready to shape out, you have to conform and shape in while consistently doing the things that you think can help you. Then oftentimes I've also realized that working with your line managers as well helps you a lot, because they tend to be like a buffer for you if you need to have some me time or do some offline work. Today you might choose, okay, can I please work from home today? That kind of arrangement with your line manager. It's critical to also have a good relationship with your line manager. If you don't have that today, please, something that you need to work at. So it's really dependent on how you're going to manage it by yourself. And that's where your self-awareness comes into play. So my advice would be just, if your organization does not support it, okay, don't rock the boat, don't push it, except if you're willing to step out of that boat, then you can push it. So let's do the work that we can.
Awesome. One final question. I'm so sorry, but someone just sent me another question, which I think is really important that we take. So this question centers more around when you have to take a vital decision, which do you consider first? Your career, your family, your finances? What's the role that each of those areas of your life have to play in your decision making, especially when it has to do with something very vital?
All these things that you have mentioned are critical. Money is very important.
Yes, so.
Money is very important. Family is critical. Career is important as well. However, then again, I always go back to the stage you are at in life. If you're an early person, if you are just starting off a career and you are not married, you have the liberty to, take on any decision at a whim. But when you now have to consider your spouse, your children, and you want to take a career decision, that career decision will definitely impact on them, right? And oftentimes, then again, depending on where you're at currently, money may not be the deciding factor for you, okay? Because at some point, you are taking a job because you want to learn, then your later part of the life, you want to take a job because the money is good, it gives you other perks and all of that. So depending on where you're at currently, let's be focused. Your family is critical. So if you're taking a career decision that is going to impact on your family, the foundation that your family currently have as of today, it's something that you cannot take alone. That decision is not your sole responsibility or decision to take. Your spouse has to be involved in that decision because you are deciding for him. Is his life too. His life matters. Okay, then depending on the ages of your children as well, they also have to be involved, especially when you're raising teenage children. You don't want to disrupt their lives, basically. So everybody has to be involved at some point in that decision. It's not just, it's your career. Yes, it is fantastic. It's going to put a lot more money on the table. It's going to give you that, this, and the other. But your spouse is also part of that decision making and has to be carried along as well. So.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, CEO, for that response. We have a comment here from Ife Tayo. It reads, create the career you want for yourself. If your organization does not support, submerge yourself in career of your dreams. Surround yourself with people in that career. Create a plan, take up career development, and pave yourself out of where you are to where you want to be, no matter how long it takes. Thank you so much. Esther states, fantastic. Thank you. Wow, CEO, it's been an amazing 1 hour session with you this afternoon. Amazing. Thank you so much for being yourself, for sharing your story, for keeping it real. Amazing. I don't know if there's any comments or question from anyone in the house that wants to go off mute and just speak, and let's hear someone's voice this afternoon. Anyone else? Anyone wants to just say something, ask questions? Okay, we have Chini. I hope I pronounced that well. Please, you can go off mute.
Hi, yes,
Hi.
it is. Thank you.
Hi, Didi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
That's my sister.
I love it so much. I enjoyed myself a lot. Thank you so much. That is my younger sister there, so I'm really proud.
We are proud of her as well.
Thank you. So I just had to say something because she's just an amazing person, and I love what she's doing for the youth, for the younger ones, especially in our country, Nigeria.
Yeah.
We need a lot of leaders like her.
Yeah.
And I've supported that, and I'm thankful for her, and I'm thankful that she's changing lives. So my thing is, Chinwe, continue to be your amazing self, and continue to lead, that the rest of the ladies coming up will see and follow. I love your story, how you started from, at the bottom, and everybody get to see, and even though I'm at the bottom, I can actually get there through hard work and support system as well. So yeah, that is it. Thank you.
True. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you. Thank you. We all love Chinwe. She is simply phenomenal. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone want to share the votes of thanks? Anyone else? Votes of thanks from someone, just to appreciate Chinwe for her time and for blessing us with her amazing story. Thank you. Any votes of thanks from anyone in the house? Feel free to just go off mute and just share the vote of thanks. Anyone? I can call anyone though, Okay. Let me call.
Okay.
Tammy.
I think I want to do, yes.
Tammy, you see, I knew it. Go.
I want to do that. I would like to say that. I would like to say that it's really an honor for me to be saying thank you for having this is like the first kind of session I will be waiting till the end. By the middle, even though it's a fantastic session, I would have left. But this one, I wanted to see till the end, and I really enjoyed it. And I want to say thank you for sharing your personal life, your career life. I have picked a lot that I would actually run with, and I'm sure every other person too have been able to pick one or two things. For my career, I'm sure that I would start using one or two things, especially I asked about what you would have done better. And I think I also missed the point of the politicking in the office. Now I've learned a lot, but I am also still a learner in that part of our career, we HR. So thank you so much for creating that time to bear it all out with us. And I just want to say that all the remaining visions in your vision book, or the remaining dreams, the Lord will make it perfect, and He will fulfill it in that actual time that you have written it to be. Thank you so much. And thank you, Lara. This is actually a very great session. And I'm looking forward to the next one. I'll definitely join again. I'll create time to join. I also use my Sundays too to sleep, but this one, I cannot sleep on it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone that has joined. I'm sure you enjoyed yourself. Thank you so much. Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. To all our seniors who equally joined, YF, MOJ, thank you, Fumi Jumoke, Isi Maria, Funke Toyi, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to everyone for your time. It's been a great learning session. And to my brother, I have my big brother in the house as well, Mr. Bosu Omoto, I call him Big B. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, IJ, Samuel, Esther, Evelyn. Evelyn, though you joined late, I'll send the link to you. Don't worry. Thank you, Fertile. Thank you, everyone. And do enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have an amazing week ahead. See you. Love as always. I'm always proud of you, sis. Thank you so much. God bless you. Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Can we just go off mute and just say thank you to Chinwe as well? Let her hear our voices and the excitement in our voices, especially. And
thank you, Ma. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ma.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So do take care and stay safe. Bye.